Hello and welcome back to Northeast Nostalgic. Today we're exploring one of Sunderland's oldest churches, Holy Trinity Church, which is over 300 years old. The church's construction cemented Sunderland as a growing port with industrial power. Let's start our story in 1712. The port of Sunderland was rapidly growing, and the local St Michael's Church in Bishop Wearmouth was becoming too small to fit the population in. People within what we call Old Sunderland would have had to trek over a mile all the way to Sunderland Minster for their weekly services. No doubt they'd be annoyed if they couldn't get a seat after all that travelling. An appeal was started to build a new church in the east end of the city, with the site on the town moor being chosen. Holy Trinity Church was opened as the Sunderland Parish Church in 1719, mere months after an Act in Parliament had created the parish of Sunderland. Let's take a look inside to see the amazing restoration of this historic church. As you step into the church, you'll see to your right this marble plaque to a George Hugel, who was buried in Sunderland Cemetery in 1890 after spending 45 years as a servant to the parish. To your left is the statue of Rector Robert Gray, who died in 1838 while serving the people of Sunderland through a typhoid epidemic. Through the next set of doors, you're greeted with original wooden signs and the incredible font which stands as a centrepiece. The marble font is covered by an ornate wooden cover, carved with cherubs. Everywhere you look, there's glimpses of this magnificent church's Georgian past. A painting depicting cherub angels circles the top of the font, being a beautiful place where many a baby was christened. I originally visited Holy Trinity Church before its restoration, so around 2018, and I remember this font being originally painted a strange blue-grey colour. Through a painstaking process to identify the previous layers of paint on the font, the conservators realised that the font was actually originally a bright cobalt blue. This is an ongoing theme throughout this beautiful church. The colour schemes chosen have been from history, accurately showing how this fabulous building was then. The room to the right of the entrance is the church vestry. This is the room where the clergy would go to change into their ceremonial gowns for church services and attend to office duties. Usually the vestry is almost always located at the east end of the church, near the chancel and the altar, so it's very unusual for Holy Trinity's vestry to be at the opposite end of the church. So what was the reason for it? When Holy Trinity Church was built, it required an Act of Parliament. The Act made into law in 1719 specified that the gentlemen of the vestry were to be in charge of the new parish of Sunderland, being Sunderland's first town councillors. This room was where gentlemen would meet and sit around this very oak table, discussing the business of the parish. The church vestry served as the council chambers until the new borough of Sunderland was created in 1835. Inside, you'll be greeted with elegant Georgian architecture, flooded with light. I'm not really a church type of person, but this particular church really has struck a chord with me. Intricately restored to an incredibly high standard, this building is truly one of the great historic places in Sunderland, being even more poignant for being the birthplace of the modern Sunderland we know today. Your eyes draw automatically to the truly breathtaking stained glass, although you might not necessarily know that it was actually handmade here in Sunderland. Sunderland has had a rich history for producing glass, with the first stained glass in Britain being produced here in AD 674 by French craftsmen. The craftsmen taught the local people how to make glass, making Wearside one of the earliest places in the glass trade. In 1860, over 1,000 glassmakers were employed in more than 20 companies, with this beautiful glass being exported round the world. This Venetian stained glass within Holy Trinity Church was added in 1857, manufactured by James Hartley's Glassworks, depicting the Ascension. James Hartley and Co. Glassworks were based on the junction between Trimden Street and Hilton Road, trading from 1836. 2 years later, James Hartley was granted a patent for Hartley's patent roll plate, a new way to manufacture cast glass. It was produced by ladling metal from the pot directly onto a casting table, resulting in strong, cheap glass, suitable for roofing. London's Crystal Palace was manufactured from this glass in 1851, creating a structure that had not been seen before, astonishing visitors with clear walls and ceilings that did not require internal lights. The tops of the mouldings have been left untouched, showing the original history of this building. We next head into the wooden chapel, the perfect place for quiet and reflection. Each section has been restored and put back into place, exactly how it would have been. Beside the Victorian panelling and the memorial to all those who died while serving their country is a secret found hidden in a pew during the renovations. A 13-year-old choir boy who lived at the nearby Sunderland Orphan Asylum jotted down his feelings on an old sermon. Dear friend, whoever finds this paper, think of William Elliot, who had 2 months and 2 weeks and 4 days on the 11th of August 1897. Whoever you are that finds this paper, don't tear it up or throw it away. Keep it in remembrance of me, W. Elliot. I was the leading boy of this choir, and I love you if you love me. A framed copy of William's note sits in the chapel, heeding to William's wishes. The wooden gallery bears Sunderland's crest, as well as some interesting remnants that describe the congregation that would have sat in these chairs. Constables, overseers, sidesmen and churchwardens would have sat here, probably keeping an eye out to see if anyone gets a bit rowdy in the pews in front. It's time to explore upstairs. I bet this original spindle staircase has so many stories to tell, of the footprints that have padded up and down these steps. At the top of the stairs we have the main gallery that we gazed upon moments ago, as well as the first public library in Sunderland. As you go up the stairs, remember to take a glance at Gray's Memorial Garden, once the churchyard of Holy Trinity Church. The views from this part of the building are spectacular, getting a closer look at the plaster carven edges as well as the 14 pillars with Corinthian-style capitals. Looking down, we have the original pews where people would have worshipped. I never quite know if the rabble were crammed up here or if the rich notability got this amazing view. In the library are the original Georgian desks and bookcases, once one of the only places for the people of Sunderland to read. The beautiful arched windows provide the perfect setting for a cosy read, with views of the Memorial Garden and Old Sunderland. Quirky paper houses created to represent the heritage buildings in this area sit proudly on the Georgian bookcase, as well as the newspaper clipping describing William Elliott's note found in the pews below. If you head towards the toilets, you'll see this magnificent original staircase with a sweeping balustrade and spindles. Each element of this building has been thought out carefully, creating a historic space ready to be enjoyed by a new generation. I love how much exposed wood is shown, showcasing the materials that built this church in a time of exciting change. These toilets hold a little secret about the renovations, with the layers of coloured paint on certain parts of this building being displayed inside, showing the original colour schemes of time. These colours would have been painted on the nave and chancel at some time in history, with bold punchy blues and pinks being surprising choices amongst the subdued browns and creams. Now to show you the exciting bit. In January 2022, I was kindly given a tour of the newly renovated church, including the roof and the clock tower. The roof was raised from its original position in the 1800s, with the original roof being made using hand tools, whilst the raised roof shows signs of machine tools. Some of these beams hold some special history. It's amazing to see early graffiti etched into the beams from builders or workers from centuries ago. It makes you really wonder about their lives and what they did. Next, it was time to go a little higher to the clock tower. This space felt like someone had just left it exactly how it was 300 years ago, with very broken ladders, wooden structures, and of course the ropes that led to the bells above. I couldn't quite bring myself to go all the way up there. It was amazing to see the clock face from this angle. It would originally have been ran with the mechanical process, but changed to electric somewhere down the line. My favourite part of the clock tower was this tiny little furnace, where a clock operator may have had a little pot of tea brewing and a little bread bun to sustain their work. Outside this beautiful building is more history waiting to be discovered. The land, which is now the Graham Memorial Gardens, would have been once full of gravestones, with the last burial at the graveyard being in 1854. Only 3 gravestones remain: Jack Crawford, John Dixon and the Reverend Robert Gray. It is believed that there's over 100,000 bodies beneath this land, with cholera mass graves being a regular sight during the Victorian era. Due to the sheer number of deaths, many of the people buried here are not inside coffins. People of the nearby workhouse would have often had to settle with sharing a coffin for the service or remembrance, and then being buried without the coffin, with it being taken away for the next poor soul. Jack Crawford has a legendary story, being born here in the East End, before being press-ganged into the Royal Navy in 1796. The next year, aboard HMS Venerable, he was involved in the Battle of Camperdown. During the battle, the colours and signal flags on Venerable's mast were brought down, giving the impression of the flagship's surrender. In an act of defiance, Jack Crawford climbed up the main mast, nailing the flags back up, and was named a hero. Holy Trinity Church is now known by a new name, 1719, inspired by the year of the church's foundation. Today it's a fab arts and event space, with some really truly amazing people who work there. I really hope you liked this video. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and let me know where we should go next.